Are you ready to go to the castle?
It's got to be more. Yeah, it has to be something else. Come on.
Yes. Well, no, that was SmackDown in my eyes right there. But
And by the way, there's no castle. I think the other Clash at the Castle they did, there was actually a castle there because they showed it on camera. There's no castle.
yeah, this is downtown. They got some kebab places, but they ain't got no castle. But it was the Clash because the castles are in the country, I guess. There's castles in the country.
Is there a country without castles? I guess
Well,
there are some of the smaller ones.
Many countries, many of the smaller underprivileged countries.
Is there a first world country without castles?
This is the only one I know of in the state of Kentucky, Castle Cornette.
All right.
Anyway,
well, as you can tell, we're excited to talk about the Clash at the Castle. Jim, big matches.
I'm trying to talk about it if you'd let me continue. There were 3 big matches out of 5. That's what there were.
Oh, here we go.
And they started off with, obviously, Drew McIntyre, homecoming, home country hero, should go on last. How are you going to follow that? But I guess they wanted to put as much space in between the 2 world championship matches as they could, but they started the show with an I Quit match for the WWE title with Cody and AJ Styles. And, you know, again, how are you going to follow this? What the fuck? The whole crowd, the people loved it. They sang Cody's song too. They're a singing bunch, as we said. Michelle, Cody's mom, at ringside. Biggest arena gate ever.
Suzanne watched this a little bit too because she was in the other room and I had it on the TV. And I left the room for a bit and had to come back. And I said, "What did I miss?" She goes, "Oh, he started yelling at some old lady in the front row." And then I was like, "Some old lady in the front row? Really?" He's like, "Oh yeah, he acted like he was going to hit her." I'm like, "Really?" And then I realized a little bit later it was actually his mom that she was talking about, but she didn't.
Cody, yes.
It was on mute.
Well,
It's on mute that he was going to hit some old lady in the front row.
And at least he didn't woo at her. But we'll get to that later on. But Michelle ought to stick to not trying to work either. Here's the thing. I wanted to like this match. These are Cody's the biggest babyface in the business. AJ is a fucking technical phenom. But they didn't try to replicate, as Corey Graves had referenced, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard, 1985, I Quit. They didn't try to replicate that. They tried to replicate Ian Rotten and Madman Pondo in 2008. The tables and the chairs and the kendo sticks and the first 2 minutes they're going after, boy, boom, boom, boom. And then Cody starts pulling out tables and setting them up. And then he threw AJ into the crowd. They fought in the audience. And then they were out in the back hallway of the building. And I'm like, now it's what we see every week on AEW, just better performed with bigger stars. And they go into a production room and start, Cody's choking him with fucking camera cables. And I'm like, fuck, I have to fast forward Cody, the first fucking match on this thing, and I fast forward until he got back in the goddamn ring. Because what? And we talked about in France, they got a virgin audience. They're going to love it if you do it in front of them. They start to fucking match this hot crowd. The first thing to do is go in the back of the building. People are watching TV. They could have done that at home. Anyway, they get back in the ring, and then Cody gets a figure 4. And I'm saying, okay, now they've had a no-holds-barred fucking brawl in the goddamn production room, and they get back in the ring, and they grab a hold. They dampened my enthusiasm. But both of these guys, I mean, they did the vertical suplex spot where both of them went over the top. And then the brainbuster, AJ gave Cody on the desk, and Cody gets juice. They're great moves. They're being performed well and safely by professionals, and they're selling shit. And they're, it's as good as it can get, but it's still the same shit that everybody does every goddamn week. And that's when then, AJ yelled at Michelle and got some heat on Cody, and the crowd is, fuck you, AJ. But so much of it was on the floor. They don't need to do that. Neither one of these guys. They can work. They're exciting. They can use the ring. When AJ brought a chair in, the crowd chanted, we want tables. And that's why I wrote, the business is ruined forever by this, which I blame Heyman. The furniture craze of the 90s. It's not go babyface, please win. It's put the babyface through a table if that's the way it has to be. Because we want to see a table break. People are so mad at the furniture. AJ gets a kendo stick and hits him about 9 times. Then he gets a belt and whips him. If you've got the stick and it's already proving successful, instead of stopping hitting the guy who's not getting up to pick something else up that's less dangerous to hit him with, why don't you just continue hitting him with the thing you're hitting him with already? That's not rhetorical. Would you do that?
No, I would not. Unless I was a baby face and I was building it up theatrically to, I find different things one after another. No, I would not.
But you're following a shooting with a stabbing. I gave the motherfucker a brainbuster on the desk. Then I hit him with a kendo stick. Now I'm going to whip him with a belt. What's next? Tickle his nipples? You going backwards, aren't you?
That's true.
Fuck. So then that's when AJ stopped fighting and went to the announce desk and got a water bottle and threw it at Cody, and then went back out the other side and got a velvet bag out from under the ring and dumped out leg shackles. And he cuffed Cody's arms behind him, but they were leg shackles with the chain in the middle because Cody still needed to be able to move and had to get the arms in front of him and etc. But he cuffs his arms behind him and hits him 6 more times with the kendo stick. And now the pace is glacial. Where then AJ goes back to yell at Michelle, and she's supposed to slap him. But she goes for the first slap, and I don't know if she was like, well, that wasn't a good enough one, so she tried for a second one. But they tried 3 times, and if one just haul off and hit him would have been great. But it was like she was just pawing him. And then AJ took the chair and hit Cody a couple times and then wrapped a chain around his arm like he was Nikita Koloff and went for the forearm. And this was a beautiful spot. AJ with a chair around his arm goes for the springboard forearm. But Cody has the chair in the ring, and as AJ gets to the top rope, Cody throws the chair and beans him in the head, and AJ bounces off the rope and falls through a table on the floor. And somebody also on Twitter put cartoon sound effects to that. It was fucking hilarious. I retweeted it. But it was a great bump, and it was a great finish. But it wasn't a fucking finish. How you would get up from this thing. So then Cody crawls over and gets the key to the handcuffs and gets loose and nails AJ with the cuffs, and he gets juice now. And Cody makes a big comeback, and the people are loving it. And then Cody hits a crossroads, and then another crossroads, and then another crossroads on a chair. And by now, unfortunately, both guys' gigs have dried up because they got it too early. And, it wasn't like they were going to the bone, but at least it's a positive sign that we have blood in the new WWE. Where it's a goddamn slaughterhouse every week on TBS to the point where it means nothing, but the complete banishment of it took a lot of goddamn drama out of the big matches in the WWE. Now we've got a little soupçon of it. But nevertheless, he then handcuffed AJ to the ropes and hit him 9 times with a chair. And this is the guy who got beamed in the head with a chair and flipped off the ropes to the table on the concrete floor moments ago. And AJ's response to 9 shots with a fucking chair is, screw you. So then Cody throws the metal stairs into the ring and picks him up and holds him over his head, and AJ's cowering in the corner. And then he freaks out and says, I quit. And the music plays, and Cody thinks and says, fuck it, and hits AJ with stairs anyway, and then celebrates.
What'd you think of that? What'd you think of the finish and then him hitting him with it anyway afterwards?
Well, I like that something happened, but
him giving up at the threat of being hit again, as opposed to being as opposed to screaming in the middle of a hold or something. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that it is after all the shit that had just been done to AJ, and he's up on his feet and coherent enough to scream, oh no, don't hit me with the stairs, I quit. They'd gone too far already. I like a chicken shit heel freaking out and saying I quit like that. And if this was a little bit more of a blood feud than maybe AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes' long-running 6-week rivalry may call for, yeah, I have the babyface hitting me anyway afterwards. But
he wasn't even like bloody and beaten in the corner, like, barely able to stand. It was like he was standing up.
Yes. He was like, oh shit. That's the thing. They still have a show left. They still have to do it. They've chairs and tables and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and fighting in the back and fighting in the crowd and fighting in the ring and tables breaking and all this other stuff. And that's the first fucking match. And then the finish is, oh shit, don't hit me, I quit. After all of that, I think the people wanted to see him get hit. But then they did an angle where, as Cody was going back down the aisle, there's Solo, and they face off, and the Tongas come out and jump him. And they're 3-on-1 on Cody, because we never see AJ again. And Owens and Orton come out and save him. They have a big 6-way brawl in the aisle, and I can see that being a main event on one of these premium live events, the 6-man with the Samoans and the baby faces there, and the heels powdered off, but gee, what the fuck? And now they're about to go to a triple threat women's tag match. After that goddamn, can we not stop the same shit over and over and let the guys who are talented in the ring tell us a physical story instead of a stunt show? Just a thought. It's so redundant. What did you think?
I liked it a little better than you, but, especially the early part, it just reminded me of everything else we see. I got into it by the end of it. The finish, though, left me kind of hanging. Even though Cody hits him afterwards, which is more of a heel move than a babyface move, really.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he had been horribly wronged for years, yeah, maybe. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. This should be like if it was Cody against Tony. Like, that would be the case. Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Randy, get in here. Bam, bam, bam. But yeah, I mean, and then AJ, I guess, is just dead now. I don't know what's going to happen with him. We'll see. I mean, they're setting up the big picture, I guess, as Bloodline wants the title back. Are they doing it on behalf of Roman? Or are they doing it on behalf of themselves? And then Roman has to come back. So we'll see.
Did you see a very small detail, but still, I noticed when Owens and Orton came out for the save, because they weren't on the show. They didn't wrestle. I assume they weren't advertised.
Owens co-hosted the pre-show.
Okay, well, whether they mentioned, we knew Owens was here. The announcer said we knew Owens was in the building. We didn't know about Orton.
In his trunks.
Orton comes out in his trunks and his boots, tanned, oiled, looking like he's ready to wrestle like $1 million fucking dollars. And there's Steen out there in a goddamn tennis shoes and a warm-up suit. And it didn't matter whether Orton's going to wrestle or not. He goes out looking like a goddamn star. You know when that guy's around.
Although, on the other hand, should Orton have showed up in street clothes in this situation if you know he's not wrestling? Unless he wrestled a dark match that we didn't see, and I don't know what,
I don't think they had a dark match, but even no, he should have showed up and showed off the fucking goods. Goddamn, that's what he looks like. He looks like a fucking star. Why hide it? If he's going to go out and have a fight, he's going to be ready just in case, backing up his friend, the babyface.
What, he was manager? What is this promo you're doing here?
That's a little attention to detail that the rest of these fucking outlaw-minded jackoffs don't fucking pay attention to, and that's something else he learned from Rip Rogers. If people are going to see you on a show, go out looking like a fucking star.
Did you see that apparently they signed Heckel? We've seen him in AEW.
Wait a minute. Hickalula?
Heckel.
No, Hickalula. That's that song from that surfing movie. Hickalula, baby, Hickalula.
What surfing movie is that?
That's one of those 60s beach movies with Annette and Fabian and all those people.
No Frankie?
Frankie, Fabian, K. Fabian, Fabio, whoever those fucking people are. Hickalula, baby. Anyway, who'd they sign?
Heckel, who apparently... Is he another one of Haku's?
That sounds like a disease also you'd get from too much carbonation.
Well, he's another...
I'll tell you, I had a bad case of the Hickaleas last week. Lasted for fucking hours.
Let me see exactly who and what. Heckel.
Is this somebody else to get in between us and Jacob Fatu?
Well, that's the thing people were wondering. He is... His family, it says that... Yes, Haku, it says, according to Wikipedia, uncle/adoptive father.
Wait a minute, he's Haku's adoptive father? What did you say?
No.
How old is this man? When do they start a senior division? Is he going to become in as the elder?
Haku.
King Curtis was booked?
I don't know why this got me so good. Haku's son. He is Haku's son. Haku is his uncle.
So Haku is his, wait a minute, uncle/adopted father? I thought that was only available in Mississippi. How is that?
Well, listen, he signed...
Wouldn't Haku have had to bone himself?
Listen.
How's this?
Haku, it's Jim Cornette that said that.
These family trees in Samoa, they branch everywhere like those bonsai trees. All right, so Hickalula's coming.
Heckel, his brother is Tamatanga.
Oh, boy.
His cousin/adoptive brother is Tangaloa. And Bad Luck Fale, who's also in New Japan, is his adoptive cousin, it says here. And why people are talking about him, beyond his crazy family situation, the reason people are talking about him, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, is WWE just trademarked another name. And I want to say, and I'm trying to pull it up, I want to say it was Tala Tonga.
Jesus.
So people are assuming it may be him, and does it have his height? Because that's what I'm looking for here. I don't want to say 7 feet, because that may be ridiculous, but
come on.
He was really tall, but I don't remember how tall.
You know what? This reminds me of 1996. Fatu was the Sultan. Remember that? They'd done everything they could with Fatu at that point, and he hadn't become Rikishi, and, he was just in that lame gimmick. And Vince told us, I'm going to call him in and fire him. He brought him into the fucking office to fire him one day. And after the end of the meeting, all of us on the creative team got the news. Not only didn't he fire him, but he hired 3 more members of the family. Anyway, where is Jacob? Is he climbing a ladder somewhere? Jacob's ladder?
We'll see. And the Usos. Again, they're kind of in the background now. They got to pop off into this too.
Well, I was about to, they're going to pop off into this? Where did the one Uso go? I see Jay. I haven't seen Jimmy as much.
And what about the Tonga kid?
What happened to Jimmy? Did somebody hurt Jimmy?
Jimmy?
Jimmy? What did they do to Jimmy?
Hands off Jimmy.
Hands off Jimmy.
Don't touch Jimmy. That was on the other day. Oh my God, it holds up. That episode's so good.
All right, anyway, so they went to a triple threat women's tag team title match. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark versus Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And boy, I'm going to tell you what happened here. They had to, this is what tipped me off that Drew, spoiler, Drew wasn't going to win because they had to have one of the hometown attractions, home country attractions, win something.
Yeah, bingo.
And so they did it here. But again, placement. They won a girls' match to mean a shit after that chaos on first with the biggest stars in the company for the title. You know, even with the hometown team, that helped, obviously. But I have to think this is a short-term deal, or is potentially leading to some kind of ill will between Bianca and Jade, because Jade and Bianca give Shayna Baszler his goddamn double team thing, and it looked like a double Goldberg. But then Isla Dawn pulls Jade off and gives her kind of a German suplex and pins Shayna. So the titles changed hands without Jade and Bianca losing because of the stupid rules of their stupid three-ways. And they had to give the home country something, but was this the thing does this mess something up with Jade and Bianca, or is this where they were going? They're going to split them up anyway.
They're definitely going to split them up. And I start thinking more and more that they're starting to tease it. Now, I will say, I was hoping you would watch this match.
Well, good luck with that on Father's Day after I'd spent an hour watering.
Why, I had hoped you would, because Jade Cargill, I think we need to watch what she's doing in there. And you've worked with a lot of Raw talent, a lot of people who were, you know, monster wrestlers, bodybuilders. I think you could watch these and definitely see a little bit. I thought when she came out, my first thought was something you always say, boo-boo job face. And it turned out I was right. And,
but also,
I mean, they're hiding what she can't do right now in tag teams.
But okay, so you watched this. Did they hide it well in a women's three-way? Is this the equivalent of when the WWE put Ronda Rousey in that battle royal here some months back? And I said, what the fuck? They left her twisting in the wind. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, and it shows. Because as she's mentioned, was a person that thought that she needed rehearsal. So why would you put Jade in this situation where it's going to be, there's always some element of something's going to come up where you got to think for yourself, even if everything's laid out. These are too awkward. That's another reason I don't watch it.
Well, that's part of the issue right there. Things are laid out because Jade, when things hit, everything looks amazing.
Yeah.
But it's clearly all things that she has rehearsed. Sequences she's rehearsed. Things, power moves she's rehearsed. And when things don't go exactly right, it shows. Anyone could slip off the ropes. That happens to anyone. I wonder how Jacob Fatu's going to do. I'm sure he'll be fine going from cables to ropes, considering some of the things he does.
I think he's probably got some experience with both because they've got a lot of those rope type rings out in California, but I think he's also going to pay a special attention to feeling things out before he just goes out and does shit.
But I think Jade, there's still a sloppiness, and you have to remember there's an inexperience. Even though she was on AEW TV for a few years, it was the Goldberg push.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same thing as what they're trying to do now. But the other thing was there was a spot where Shayna choked out Jade from behind, and it went on a long time. And I almost thought Shayna was going to tap her. She did tap. They showed Jade tapping as she was being choked, and the referee didn't see it, but the commentators all started yelling it, and obviously the match kept going for a while from there. But there was a lot of awkward stuff with Jade in here.
That might have been to give Shayna something, since they were going to beat her later on or whatever. But that's, again, that's the thing is, I think in this case, her losing this early has to be more than, with the plans they've made for Jade, or that they've already shown us that they're doing, and the entrance and the build and the whole 9 yards. Even if it was a hometown team, they wouldn't have just decided we're going to take the belts off of them unless this was the start of a story with Jade and Bianca. So that's where I think they're going, and this played into it. It was a time, well, we can do it because it's right. Right? But at the same time, they're putting her in like you said, these complicated, crowded situations where she's going to have to be less green than she is now. And she got no real start in and probably wasn't dedicated to it in AEW. I mean, did we hear that she lived at Dustin Rhodes's wrestling school?
No, but
the whole time she worked in AEW.
But we did hear things like she would work before the shows with Danielson on stuff.
Well, just Whoopi Goldberg for her. Work a goddamn. I'll get in the ring before the show. I'm making a goddamn.
Well, she may have done more. I don't know.
I'm making a goddamn guaranteed 6-figure income in a business that I've had no connection to whatsoever until a billionaire decided to put me on national television. And even Jade said after she left that she got very little training compared to what she's been exposed to. But at the same time, was she knocking down doors going, I need to be in sweats doing this every day? How seriously was she taking it until she got this big offer? We don't know. But the point is, she ain't ready to be in these 3-way 6-girl who gives a fuck matches on her own.
Well,
that's my opinion.
Well, Isla and Bizla, whatever the other one's name is, they won the match. Hometown winner of the tag team championship.
Yes. And then came the Intercontinental title match between Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, and the crowd again was singing a song. I don't know what that song was either. And
Paul
again,
Jones would have been big over there.
I got a song I need to sing, and I'm going to sing it. I'm going to say this to both of these guys are wonderful workers. And they were doing arm drags and leapfrogs after the main event with the top star was on first with blood, furniture, and chaos. But it was a very nice match. The people liked it. And basically, they had a match in front of a long, extended angle. A model girl. She looks like she would need written instructions to find the bathroom.
Her facial reactions at ringside were, I don't know, the polar opposite of Elizabeth. I don't even know how to explain it. They were so over the top.
Well, they could bounce between scared and confused and scared.
Although I will say,
intimidated is in there.
Later on in the match, when she started selling her injury, I won't spoil anything, I thought she did a good job with that. I will say that.
Well, anyway, I also, with Gable, if he has been so misused with this talent and the promo that he can do, if they hadn't botched him so badly for so long, this is a good deal and the people are interested in it. But remember, we talked about it seems like Sammy's taken a step down from beating Gunther for the Intercontinental title to fucking trying to free the indentured servants of Chad Gable. Gable would have been more important if they had done that stupid shit with him. But nevertheless, ditch the girl here. He's doing great. She's completely useless. Anyway, they started doing an angle at the end where basically they're teasing the turn. Gable wanted the model girl to hit Sammy with the belt, but she wouldn't do it. So then Gable goes over to her and chews her out. But while he's looking over his shoulder, apparently he didn't trust her to be smart enough to give him the Iggy. Because the camera caught him, he's pointing at her and yelling, but he's looking over his shoulder like, is Sammy coming with the kick? When do I turn? And of course, then Sammy runs with the kick, but Gable moves. And then Sammy almost kicks model girl, but pulls up short, and Gable hits a German, gets a 2 count, and then he ignores the match and goes to the floor to scold the girl again. But Otis gets in between him and the girl, and Gable and Otis get nose to nose. And then as they're nose to nose on the floor, Sammy hits the ropes on the other side of the ring and dives onto both of them. But what I saw Gable move and shove Otis kind of into it. But Michael Cole said, did you see that? Otis shoved Gable out of the way and took the brunt of the dive. No, it was the exact opposite fucking thing.
That's right.
So they
Don't
told him
believe what you see with your own eyes. That's
well,
what
they
that
told
was.
him about the spot ahead of time, but I bet you he fucking wrote down in his notes the wrong way. Because anyway, so nevertheless, always watch your monitor, Michael. I taught you that when you and I did your first broadcast on television back when you were a virgin. Anyway, Gable got the ankle lock on Sammy on the floor, and Sammy rolled through, and Gable sprawled out into Model Girl's leg and clipped her as she was trying to fucking help Otis. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And Otis got mad because the girl got hurt. And Gable drew the referee, but Otis wouldn't attack Sammy until finally he drew back like he was going to in a very stagey and awkward manner. But then Model Girl, limping and screaming about her legs, said, "No, please don't." And Otis picks Model Girl up and carries her and her hurt leg out of there, and Sammy hit the kick 1, 2, 3.
No, she climbed up to say that and then fell back down. And then Otis,
yes.
as slow as possible. Remember George Animal Steel running out of the building with Elizabeth? This was not that. As slow as he could, walked out with her, waiting for, I guess, the victory.
What this is some of the most awful, phony bullshit that I've ever seen that the crowd is fucking completely eating up. It's not, Sammy's doing fine, but like Otis, just the dumbfounded face and the stagey movements, and Model Girl, whose, as I said, emotions range from confused to bewildered, and Gable has to be, they're doing too much of it to where he has to leave his goddamn match and turn his back to yell at a girl on the floor. Nobody would actually be doing these things for real, but the people love it. Because they want to see the big fat fuck squash the little goddamn obnoxious fuck. But that was that. Did I miss anything? About the fat fucks and the obnoxious fucks?
People are waiting for the Otis turn, or however you want to see it. They're waiting for it, so they'll get a big pop when it happens. And, these two guys are both really good in the ring. Sammy doesn't have a great physique, but he looks like a dirty fighter. Like, he just looks like, you know what I mean? Like someone who'd be like dirty and bloody and just a mess fighting. Like, you could see him fighting. And Gable's tremendous. I really think Gable's great. I was watching this match. I thought he was fantastic here.
Remember I said Sammy is the everyman. He gets a pass on looking like shit because he can work and he can sell so good, and that's the appeal. But then you just get people that are fans of his and want to become wrestlers, and the only thing that they've copied is the looking like shit part. That's what happens with every time somebody gets over that shouldn't get over because they don't look like it or don't act like it or whatever, but they've got something special. Then we have to fucking look at that with nothing special from then on out. So speaking of nothing special, it was Bayley versus Piper. And I said, it's fucking Father's Day. 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to catch up on this shit. So Bayley won with some kind of fucked up crucifix. Did I miss anything, or was this your bathroom break?
I didn't see the whole thing. The only thing I did see was Chelsea Green came out there with Piper, and she got kicked out of ringside eventually, and she returned in a mask, which was the comedy part of the The comedy part of the match. The comedy part of the part? The comedy part of the match in English. And, yeah.
Did she still have on that petticoat junction bustle that she wears so you could tell with the mask with the giant chiffon fucking ass on her skirt?
She was wearing the exact same thing she was wearing, I believe, when she got kicked out of ringside, just a mask.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you never know when something like that's going to work. Anyway, now the time that we have all awaited has come. It's the main event for the other world title, the second one we've seen tonight out of 5 matches. But it's got Drew McIntyre in it. And boy, howdy, and poor old Damian Priest, goddamn, we'll talk about his trip around the world in a second. But this was, Priest is the heel So he was booed more than he's ever been in his life, probably, because not only was he the heel, but also he's against the hometown hero, who in this country would kind of be a heel. So the crowd was loud, and this benefited this match somewhat, and then they just worked their ass off the rest of the way. But I like they had the decibel meter. Did you see that for all these?
That was a great idea.
All these international shows where they're going in front of these crowds that are just going batshit insane because they never get to see this. They got to do that. But I don't know how they do if they did it in Austin, Texas. I'm not, but nevertheless, they had a good match. There was a few things that I think Priest, he's trying hard, but still, I don't know how to explain it. He hasn't come all the way out of his shell or found that last gear where you could see him in the goddamn ring in the 90s with Stone Cold, right? Which a lot of these other guys that have broken through to that upper echelon, you can with Drew, you can with Punk, you can with Cody, you can with Gunther. But work-wise in the ring with Priest, it's almost, but it's not quite. But everything that Drew does, he's the best he's ever been right now. And he moves great for a guy that size. But then Priest had Drew on the floor, and he was going to do one of those deals where he runs and he steps up on the middle rope and he cannonballs over the top and lands on Drew McIntyre. And when he Priest put his right foot on the middle rope and put his weight on it, it fucking slipped off. Those ropes, again, they're dodgy. I fucking hate them instead of cables. It could have been sweat, whatever. But when he did that, he did the version of the Hangman with his ankle instead of his neck. And everybody was freaking out about, whether he broke his leg or he tore his ankle or whatever. He flipped forward at a high rate of speed and almost went headfirst into the apron. It should have either knocked him out or broken his neck, but he was an inch off one way of doing that. And then he was tied there for a shoot, and the referee for a shoot could not untie him. Until you get back up and go back over the top rope the way you came, no human being is going to get you out of that goddamn rope. I can promise you. So that's what, when McIntyre realized that he was okay and he hadn't knocked his brains out or broken his leg, he started working with him again, and he helped him in a working way, bringing him over so that he could beat him to get back over the top and get him untied. Have you ever seen a bump like that in your life?
I've seen people get caught in the rope going over. I've seen people trip. But again, like you said, the way he came around and just head first, it looked like head first. It wasn't it wasn't right there. It was from the distance, he got everything. But it looked like he got whiplash. It looked like he whipped his head right into the apron.
Yeah, it was miraculous that he didn't have serious head or neck damage, not the leg. The leg was, the leg was fine. The ankle wasn't going to go anywhere. It was right there in those ropes.
Well, considering he wasn't decapitated, it actually played well into the rest of the match.
Well, and he kept his ears, unlike Mick. That's the same thing. Mick did that with his neck. That's the Hangman. That's where he lost the ear.
That's what you're talking about. You couldn't get out of there. He couldn't just slip out. He slipped out. He ripped his ear off.
So anyway, and Priest shook it off, and they had their match, and they went through the big yay boo exchanges, and they did great false finishes. I won't bore everyone with enumerating him, but they had big shit that Priest did a hurricane run off the top rope, turned around into a fucking claymore. And then I got to admit, at first I was like, what the fuck? That was kind of the shits. But then I saw where they were going. When the referee was in the corner and both guys were backing into the turnbuckle, and the referee dove to the floor out of the way, but he landed
boy,
it
did
kind
he.
of. Well, he took
That
a
was an
dive.
Alfred Neely bump.
Well, he didn't even really take a bump, is that he just jumped out on purpose and acted like he twisted his goddamn ankle, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? But then as he was trying to get back in, that's when they both lurched into the ropes and knocked him off the apron. And then he took a bump into the fucking barricade and everything. And boom, okay. So now Drew hits the Claymore kick and covers, and the crowd is counting out loud like to 10. And then you see the long camera shot the aisleway. There's somebody running down. It's a second referee. I see the referee shirt, and then the handheld camera at ringside. Behind the second referee, sliding in, you see his ass, you see his shirt. You see him count 1, 2, and stop. And then Drew looks up and sees who it is, and then the camera on the other side in the perfect position sees that it's CM Punk. And he's held up the count. And and the people realize it's Punk, and they see him on the screen when they're in the cheap seats. And they stand up and face off, and Drew snatches Punk and gets a huge pop. And Punk hauls off and kicks McIntyre in the balls, and the crowd goes bullshit, as Pat Patterson used to say. And then Punk gets out, and the first referee rolls in, and Priest grabs fucking McIntyre and choke slams him 1, 2, 3. This finish was worth the whole show to me. That was not only brilliant, but it was shot like a fucking movie in one take in an arena in front of 20,000 people. And you could not, they didn't spoil the reveal that it was Punk, even when the count was going on. They had it framed perfectly.
Well, they had it framed perfectly for us at home. The people in the arena didn't react until the camera switched too, so they didn't even realize when the referee was running out there that it was Punk.
Well, yes, that's because in the excitement, he runs down real quick with his head down in a referee shirt and slides in, and he's got his head down, he's on his belly on the mat, and he starts counting. They're looking at the pin. And then when he holds it up, that's when they look at the referee, and then they've got the screen to back them up because they got the camera shot, and everybody sees it's fucking Punk.
Did you see the backstage footage before this?
No, I did not.
They put it on social media. It's CM Punk watching the monitor, and he sees what's happening, and he acts like, oh, I got to do something. And he sees the female referee there. He goes, quick, give me your shirt. You have an extra shirt?
Oh, I love it.
And she says, why do you need it? He goes, I can't tell you. Just give me a shirt. And he puts it on and he runs out.
You know what? The only thing better would be if he'd have pulled her shirt off and she was left there in her bra or pasties.
You've taken it too far. Pasties? What?
Pasties. Let's see, think about that. If he'd have pulled the girl's referee's shirt off and she'd have been left in pasties.
Oh.
Do the kids know what pasties are?
They're not going to find out on wrestling anymore.
Look them up on the
kids,
Google
don't
machine.
Look them up
kids.
on the Google machine, kids.
Kids over 16.
Okay. Well, let's say 18.
If your parents aren't home.
Let's say 18 to play it safe.
Okay, kids over 18, or if your parents aren't home, any age at all will be fine. Look up pasties on the internet. But no, that's a nice little piece of attention to detail.
And then look up tasty pasties. And see
well, and then look up Tempest Storm.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about
McIntyre. That's right.
Yes, Damian Priest, and Damian Priest won the match, and Drew McIntyre was left with soggy balls there in the middle of the ring, and Punk has foiled him again. And Punk found the only 3 Punk fans in the building that he could celebrate with then. And he had his T-shirt on and everything. He's done it again. He's cost him again. That was what they had to do. But it was a perfect way to get out of it in the guy's home country. He lost nothing.
Would you agree that the next thing that happens between these two has to be Drew doing something to Punk? Punk's gotten over on him a few too many times since he's been injured.
Well, but again, it depends on exactly what Punk's physical status is, not only for when he can take bumps, but when they're going to have the match. You don't these in and out, stick and move, hit and run. When you least expect it, I'll fucking fuck you some kind of way type of. They're keeping it fresh, but until you know the date and the place and the time of the match, I don't think you want Drew to return the favor and get too physical on Punk and do something you want to wait till you know you're going to be promoting it.
All right. Well, your idea of him ripping her shirt, it's like every one of your ideas is like out of an 80s teen movie. It's just like, just rip her shirt off and she happens to have perfect breasts.
That happened in the 70s too, I'll have you know. Not so much in the 60s. Those tits were a little droopy.
They had manners.
And in the 50s, they looked like bullets.
Well, they didn't look like bullets. The bras looked like bullets.
Well, the tits as a result, because the tits were in the bras.
Well, eventually, I guess.
A tit is like water. It expands to fill the shape of its receptacle.
What are your thoughts on the fact that Tony Storm gets to use the word tits on AEW TV? Does that blow your mind? The word tits is allowed to be used openly on wrestling?
Again, that was one of the 7, wasn't it?
Yeah. I
remember, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. It was the one that you ended up with. But it's not, it seems like that if you can break some norm of society or rule of broadcasting or do something that still might be considered unusual or not acceptable behavior everywhere, that you waste it on throwaway comedy shit instead of you having main event people use anything in some kind of way to be serious and draw money. Or just have a fucking guy that looks like a plumber with fuck on his t-shirt on television.
Well, speaking of drawing money, it appears that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre are set to do that whenever they finally do something, and that was the pay-per-view. 5 matches. The fans seemed happy with it.
Yes, they couldn't wait on the way home. They were stopping at ATMs to get more money out to mail in to the fucking WWE to thank them. It's insane.
I want to find out how big a crowd will support how few matches. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see, can they get a building filled for 2 matches?
It depends. The right 2 matches, I bet they could. And then back in the old days, as in the early 70s, the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum could sell out on a 3-match card. I'll have you know. And they got a lot of them, too.
The problem was the promoters had too much money, so they said, all right, we need more wrestlers, more people to give money to.
But anyway, do we need more people to give us money, or have we fulfilled our commitments for this week?
I think we're good until the drive-thru, which will be an action-packed drive-thru.